India is number 2, the loneliest country of the world.
God, and look at our population.
Exactly. अब relationship में अगर AI घुस जाएगा तो relationship का purpose ही क्या बचता है? Instagram के लिए ना फिर कि आप कितने couple reels डाल दो, कितने couple goals डाल दो.
Today's guest on Ask the Expert is Shivam, an emotional intelligence coach, a psychologist.
The emotional part of the brain and the language processing part of the brain for men and women are very differently wired.
Oh, that's so interesting. Sometimes when I'm speaking to a man, I feel like I'm speaking a different language. I feel I'm talking to a different species from a different planet. And a former aerospace engineer who transitioned into understanding human emotions.
काफी बार कहते हैं ना कि जब आप बहुत गुस्से में हो तो go for a walk.
Punch a wall.
Or punch a wall, punch a pillow. This is the purpose of anger. To fight, to protect yourself. Body खुद कर रहा है. हम नहीं कर रहे. Body subconsciously कर रहा है.
At some point, he stopped asking, how do we get rockets into space? And started asking, why are people still emotionally attached to their horrible exes? Basically the same thing.
लोग बहुत जल्दी कंक्लूड कर लेते हैं कि मुझे उसकी याद आ रही है. आज मैं सुबह उठी थी, मुझे उसकी याद आ रही है. मे बी शायद आई एम स्टिल इन लव. सो इतनी जल्दी हमने कंक्लूजन ड्रॉ कर लिया. बट दैट इज नॉट ट्रू. You are not still in love with that person.
This conversation runs the gamut. From, can you actually predict your emotions before they hijack your day?
Let's say my partner is triggered. And if I'm an emotionally intelligent person, the only way I would understand my partner is triggered when...
Is cheating sometimes more about attention than attraction?
So on paper it's a very good relationship, ideal relationship. But still the person is cheating. Many times it is driven by...
And can emotional intelligence, while often a good thing, be actually used for evil?
एक बड़ा interesting chapter था कि sex with the toxic, most toxic people is the best.
Amazing. Hello and welcome back to another episode of Ask the Expert, bringing you expert insights from those who've walked the talk. Today I'm very pleased to be joined by Shivam. Welcome, Shivam.
Hello, hi, how are you?
I'm well. New research suggests that emotional intelligence improves romantic relationships. What are the behaviors that emotional intelligent individuals are doing that actually improves relationship outcomes and longevity?
I think the most important thing that happens when you're emotionally intelligent is to be able to assess and judge other person's emotions without just relying on communication. Because when you talk about communication, we of course talk about the verbal communication that comes around it. But there's also such thing as non-verbal communication that makes up a huge area of communication which a lot of people miss out on. Which means that let's say my partner is triggered. The only way I would understand my partner is triggered when they will shout at me or when they'll communicate it outrightly in front of me.
If you're emotionally unintelligent.
Yes,
oh,
right,
okay.
Right. But
Gotcha.
if I'm emotionally intelligent, I would be able to gauge the other factors as well, that when her behavior changes, when she's kind of feeling a bit different from what she is normally. And the easier I'm able to gauge that part, the earlier I can actually attack and work on those areas and then work it out basically, because in a relationship there are going to be conflicts, there are going to be differences and issues as well, and a person who's able to gaze through and understand through different parts of it, it's easier to actually handle them in a better way.
Okay, so how might one venture gauging someone's maybe an oncoming event well before it's too far gone?
You have to be actually present in the conversation. Many times when you talk to people, we are not really present. We are either thinking about our response to that particular conversation or we are thinking about ourselves. Where do we belong in this conversation? And in such moments, naturally, you're not thinking about or listening to exactly what the person is saying. You're just listening to the words. To be able to actually be present, you have to see them holistically. Everything they're doing, everything they're saying it out loud. So I think that is a very, very important part.
So give me an example of what that might look like. Okay, I'm present with my partner, but like what do I need to read in their body language or in their tone of voice or in what they choose to say that indicates to me that I need to attack on something before this turns into a triggered situation?
Right. So it's a very subjective thing because every person's non-verbal communication is going to be very different.
Okay.
When you understand a person, when you've been with someone for very long, you start to realize and understand how do they really operate upon, what is their normal way of working, what is the normal way of speaking, what is the normal way of talking and sharing and being themselves. The moment it shifts from that direction, for example, this is how chirpy my partner is.
Baseline level.
Baseline it.
ठीक है.
And अगर वो baseline से shift होना चालू हो जाता है कुछ, so you realize that something is changing. What is really changing? What exactly triggered her? What exactly made her be different from that particular thing? It could be a lack of trust. It could be something access. कुछ तो हुआ होगा that would have triggered her response in that particular regard. तो ये बात पे समझ पाना उतनी जल्दी हम actually इस बारे में बात कर पाएंगे. Problem क्या होगी अगर मैं बात नहीं कर पाऊंगा इस बारे में? So it will keep on building up. And if it keeps on building up, it will reach a particular point when both of us are very highly emotionally driven. And when we actually start to talk about the topic, we'll both be charged up and we'll both be shouting at each other or being defensive about that particular topic. So then at that particular point of time, we won't really be talking about the topic, we'll be fighting about the topic.
Right.
And then at that particular point of time, naturally what is really happening, that topic goes aside and then we're just blaming each other and calling each other names and calling each other labels, but there's no solution to the problem.
When emotions drive a situation, does the rational mind take a back seat?
Absolutely. So when you're emotionally charged up, emotionally driven, there's a part of the brain called amygdala.
Yeah.
And that takes charge of the entire situation. So what exactly amygdala does is kind of the threat perception thing. So it's any sort of emotion that tells you that I'm in a threatening position. My amygdala is going to take charge over the rational part of the brain called prefrontal cortex. So that is called amygdala hijack. And in that position, you cannot think straight, obviously. You cannot be logical at that particular point of time.
Right.
So naturally, you cannot make sense of what to say, what not to say, how to say, and everything is gone for a toss. The whole emotions game started because we wanted to protect ourselves and reproduce further and build our numbers.
For sure.
So that is where emotions were very important back then.
True.
Right now, there are no tigers and lone lions there. But still, there are certain perception of threats that we carry within ourselves. And those perception of threat is driven by our childhood conditioning.
I wanted to double click on that. How does your childhood experience impact your ability to perceive threats or the degree to which you're sensitive to those threats?
Let's say that I have a parent who had always shut me down or who had shut themselves down whenever a conflict or a problem came. Let's say I did not get good marks. So rather than being shouted at, rather than being scolded at, my parents just shut me down. They've gone for the silent treatment. So now as a child,
what did you learn?
What did I learn? I learned that when there's a problem, when I make a mistake, my needs are not going to be met by my parents. And that will trigger a lot of other emotions like guilt or shame and other things that will come through that. So for me, that silent treatment will become a big threat for me.
Yeah.
Now, let's say my partner, for her, that was not the case at all. So she might give me some silent treatment once in a while, let's say.
Or maybe she's just like taking space for
taking
herself.
Space, right? She's just wanting to give herself a break from that situation. But I am reading it as a big threat for me.
Yeah.
What will I do then? I'll panic, I'll react.
And you'll bid for more closeness.
Yes. So she would want to have some space, I'll want to chase her down. And then I'll attack her, I'll label her, I'll blame her, I'll do everything just to get an answer. Because I want her answer, I want a reaction. And then the moment I push it more, the more she'll also get charged up and then she might also attack me eventually, which will eventually prove my hypothesis that yes, she was mad at me.
Right.
Another major difference between men and women brain, this is very, very important to understand. The emotional part of the brain and the language processing part of the brain for men and women are very differently wired out.
Oh, that's so interesting. Okay.
So for women, the emotions part of the brain and the language part of the brain are very interconnected.
Oh.
For men, the language part of the brain and the emotional part of the brain are not so well connected.
Interesting.
Which means when a woman is emotionally charged up, she would need language to process her feelings.
Talk about it.
Exactly. So, उनको बोलना जरूरी है अपने feelings के बारे में. If she does not talk about it, she cannot make sense of it.
Yeah.
But for a man, it doesn't work like that. When he's feeling something very deeply, he'll go into a shell. And that's what we normally see as well. जब कोई difficult emotion आता है, कोई problem आती है, men withdraw. They like to have their own personal space. They want to think about it. They want to have a solution around it. But for women, they want to talk it out. Now, this is the biggest reason of conflict in most relationships. Both the men and women are feeling the exact same thing, disrespected and unwanted. Which means as a woman, if you want to talk about something and I'm withdrawing, you're naturally thinking that, why is he withdrawing? Does he not like me at all? And a man will always think that I want some space. Why is she shouting at me? Why is she kind of pushing me ahead now? She does not respect me at all. So the different mechanisms of body, but both are wrestling the same thing, that we are unwanted. And then again, another trigger.
Totally. No, it's so interesting to understand the neurological underpinnings of these everyday experiences that we've had, right? Like I never knew that it was actually a neural wiring issue that made it feel like sometimes when I'm speaking to a man, I feel like I'm speaking a different language. I feel I'm talking to a species from a different planet, right? Because they're reacting so differently. But understanding this can help us hold space for the other and help the other's needs be met while also communicating our own needs.
Exactly. That's the most important point about it. That the goal is not to be same or similar. The goal is to understand that their behavior is not a threat to you.
Right.
Because we see that as threat. If a woman is constantly talking to me, I'll see that as a threat because I don't want to talk. Why are you talking so much?
Exactly.
And a woman will say that, why are you being silent while I want to talk? So both of them are seeing each other as a threat while it's not the case at all.
Yeah. What can I do to manage and regulate my own emotions before it becomes a really big problem for my relationship?
I think for that to happen, we have to have a very good emotional as well as physical awareness. If it is building up from 0 to 100 in 2 hours, and if I'm able to pick it at the first hour, I can regulate it better.
Yeah.
But the moment it reaches the peak, it will have to find an outlet.
Outburst तो होके ही
Exactly. या तो हम outburst के through उसको निकालेंगे या अपना space लेके कुछ उसको energy के through निकालेंगे. Which means काफी बार कहते हैं ना कि जब आप बहुत गुस्से में हो तो go for a walk.
Punch a wall.
Punch a wall, punch a pillow.
Okay.
Or do something, do an activity.
Yeah.
Exercise.
Okay.
Energy release करने के लिए help करता है वो चीज़.
How do we notice before it reaches the peak?
Right. So पहली चीज़ again like I mentioned, emotional as well as physical awareness. कि emotions always tries to communicate to us कि हम क्या feel करने वाले through our body. Our body changes with every emotion. Let's say कि when we're angry, how does our body change? We need to understand that. For example, for some people when they're angry, they tend to close their fist like this, and that is happening subconsciously. They're not doing it by themselves. Now, what is this for? So that I can attack someone. This is the purpose of anger, to fight, to protect yourself. Body खुद कर रहा है, हम नहीं कर रहे. Body subconsciously कर रहा है. But the moment I realize this thing that okay, I'm angry at someone, मुझे गुस्सा आ रहा है किसी बात पर, but मैं कुछ बोल नहीं रहा हूँ इस point पे, but my body is doing this. What can I do? I can open this up. I release energy and I tell myself that okay, I am angry right now, but I don't need this amount of anger.
Or maybe at least it's signaling to you that okay, maybe I am feeling angry, but I didn't realize it consciously yet.
Absolutely. And the same thing happens in fear as well. When we are fearful, we tend to close ourselves. We tend to shrink. काफी बार हम देखते हैं, नोटिस करते हैं कि जब हम इंटरव्यू में जाते हैं या कहीं बड़े पोजीशन पे होते हैं, लोग हमें देख रहे हैं, we tend to close our body. We tend to be shrinked because that is also a protective mechanism.
Like you protect your vital organs.
Yes, vital organs as well as if you close down your body, the chances of you being seen by a threat is reduced. So everything has a biological meaning to it.
Sure.
And the moment we understand that this is how my body operates in different emotions, it is easier to pick it at the right time and work around it. वरना क्या होता है कि हम बहुत लेट पकड़ते हैं उन चीज़ों को, and जब तक पकड़ते हैं तब तक totally goes out of the system.
Totally. Our body is responding to our emotions, yes. You know, if I'm getting angry, if I'm feeling stressed, I might clench my jaw.
Right.
I might find that my face gets a little warm. My heart starts to race.
Yes.
But once you attune yourself to your body's cues, you become so sensitive to your emotional crests and troughs. And then what's interesting is that you can also use your body to signal to your mind another emotion, right? Like I've also heard that like even the act of smiling, even when you're not at all happy, if you're sad, just bringing a smile to your face releases certain happy hormones in your brain. You know, it goes both ways.
When you go for an interview, when you go for a presentation, always speak with an open body language.
Yes.
Why do we ask ourselves to open our hands and speak like this?
Yeah.
Because even though we are scared, through this we are signaling our brain that I am confident. There's no threat out here.
Do we educate people enough to name the feelings that they're feeling to help them identify how to act on them?
We do educate people, but most people are not aware about it actually. Because we talk about happiness, sadness, they're just the basic emotions. But of course, there's a whole array of emotions that we have to actually understand and label. And labeling emotions really does help in regulating it better. Because if you're able to pick it up that, okay, I'm angry because I have faced rejection, and because of this particular feeling, you're able to at least understand where is this anger coming from. Otherwise, what does anger tell you? That I need to protect myself, and that can come through aggressiveness or defensiveness.
It's a very broad category.
So you don't understand what exactly and where exactly do you have to understand and work around things. So labeling definitely helps a lot.
Got it. How do I distinguish between the finer emotions for myself so I know how to act on them?
You need to actually explore a lot to be able to understand yourself better. Because there is no manual that you came with, that this is who you are as a person.
And everyone's emotional blueprint is so different as well.
Absolutely. And the only way to understand yourself as a human being, as a partner, as a friend, and every part of your life for that matter, is by exploring yourself. And exploring means you have to get out there. You have to try out new things.
Right.
And without that, you cannot really know what are my needs. Because in the first relationship that you ever had in life, what did you know about yourself? What did you know about the kind of partner you wanted? What did you know about what kind of needs I want? So that is zero. We don't have any idea about it. But after certain relationships, we realize that this is what I want, this is what I don't want at all. So that clarity comes from trying it out.
Like if I'm in a situation where I'm feeling a strong emotion, but I'm not able to label it, what are some questions I can ask myself to anchor like my own self-awareness? Okay,
the very first thing, when you're actually going through a very strong emotion, it's better to not ask yourself any question at all. Because of course, like I mentioned before, that you're emotionally charged up at that particular point of time, you won't be able to get a clear answer towards that. In fact, you might get into a spiral of rumination and you might not be able to get anything at all. The best way will be to take a break from the situation. Go for a walk, talk to someone, drink some coffee, drink a glass of water, take a nap or something, whatever, do something that helps you break the chain of the thoughts. Once you're feeling better at that particular point of time, then get back to it.
Right.
Best way would be talking to someone or writing things down. Understand and introspect what exactly made me feel bad at this particular point of time. Then try to figure out, was I seeing these things through some sort of cognitive distortions? Like black or white thinking, jumping to conclusions, things like that. So start to be aware as well that when I'm jumping to conclusions like these, is it that creates that particular amount of flux of emotions for me? Or is it the reality that is creating that for me? Because there are going to be times when the person might not have done a lot of things, but we are kind of processing it like that. Or there are going to be times when the person might have reacted like that, and we are just seeing it as it is. But you have to identify that part first. That is it my reaction, or is it that person being the way that is? So that distinction will allow you to actually identify that who needs to get the work done. Is it me or is that the other person? If it is that person, are they capable of doing the work?
Supposing I'm on a date and I'm meeting someone for the first time, how can I gauge their degree of emotional intelligence, and their degree of maybe psychological compatibility in terms of their emotional blueprint?
I personally feel it's too early to decide or to observe anything, because of course you can judge things. I always feel that people who are acting on extremes, like love bombing, let's assume, someone who love bombs are very far away from the emotional awareness, because they are acting on the waves of things. So either they are here or either they are here. So a person who has the ability to go all in, like complete white for you, they will definitely go to the black zone as well. Like a person who is able to, who's just love bombing you all the time, like you feel an array of emotions at that one split of a second. It means the other part you're going to experience as well.
Right. What goes up must come down.
Yes.
Sometimes the mark of an emotionally strong person is not how well can they stick to the plan, how well can they follow a structure and a routine, but rather how flexible they are when changes arise, right?
Absolutely.
How they can quickly adapt and bounce back or change plans dynamically without becoming emotionally distraught because they were too attached or too rigid about a particular scenario playing out, right? Like if they have a certain vision of how things should go, if it doesn't go that way, they can't function. To me, that signals rigidity. And how are you going to manage all the dynamic situations of life? You have to adapt. You have to be flexible. You have to be ready to change at a moment's notice.
True. And that often comes from anxiety as well. Because in anxiety, we want to control. Because what does anxiety come from? Where does anxiety come from? It comes from uncertainty. So in order to make sense of uncertainty, we want certainty. And what is the best way to get certainty is by controlling. If I'm able to control all the 10 parameters ahead, I'll feel in sync. I'll feel very comfortable at this point of time. The moment something changes, why is it panicking me? Because my whole mental notes of what is going to happen has completely
fallen apart. Now I don't know what's going to happen.
Exactly. So I lose confidence in myself. I feel helpless. So the more a person is panicking at that particular point of time, unable to deal with themselves, it could often be because of anxiety or could be other emotions as well. It's always a good idea to see it in the longer scheme of things. We should have a baseline of things. What do we really want in a partner? If the baseline is met, but there are other things that we're noticing, it's always better to assess them over a long period of time. If the baseline is not even met, then there's no point of carrying it through, obviously. But if the baseline is met, give it some more time to observe and understand. That way, you'll also be able to save you the regret of if I did something too quick or too fast, and give yourself a complete clarity of where exactly is it going.
Can you describe the phenomenon of how an emotional connection with someone persists even after the intellectual side of you knows that this is no longer the right person? So why does that happen and what can one do about it?
Right. See, when you get into a relationship with someone, especially a long-term relationship, it is not just about the person anymore. It is about the attachments that you built with that particular person. And when I say attachments, not just the emotional attachments. It is the habits you built around that person. It is the routine you built with that person. It is the mini behaviors that you borrowed from that particular person.
The shared language you had.
The shared languages you had, the kind of communication you did, everything. Your identity becomes shared with that particular person. So even you logically know that this is not the right time to continue this particular thing. But for your body and for your brain, you have to let a part of yourself also go in the process. Now that is a shock for the body. That is a shock for the brain. Because then it's not just about letting that person go. It is also about letting yourself go, which you have developed. Now the other part to see how do we really go about this particular thing now. At this point of time, maybe my shared values and shared identity is stopping me from going ahead, but there is possibility of me rebuilding on that part. But realize this thing कि why am I remembering this person is because हमने ये shared values के साथ join करा था, and that is why I remember this person, not because I love this person. लोग बहुत जल्दी कंक्लूड कर लेते हैं कि मुझे उसकी याद आ रही है, आज मैं सुबह उठी थी मुझे उसकी याद आ रही है, मे बी शायद आई एम स्टिल इन लव. सो इतनी जल्दी हमने कंक्लूजन ड्रॉ कर लिया, बट दैट इज नॉट ट्रू. यू आर नॉट स्टिल इन लव विद दैट पर्सन. इट इज द वैल्यू एंड द हैबिट दैट यू रीइग्नाइटेड आफ्टर सो लॉन्ग, दैट इज व्हाट क्रिएटेड योर ब्रेन्स न्यूरल कनेक्शन कि हाँ, दिस इज व्हाट आई डिड विद दैट पर्सन. सो नेचुरली यू आर गोइंग टू रिमेंबर दैट पार्ट. द फर्स्ट टाइम यू आर गोइंग टू गेट इंटिमेट विद समवन एल्स, तो नेचुरली आपको एक्सपीरियंस हो जाएगा. अब आपको लगेगा कि ओके, मे बी आई एम नॉट out
over
of love.
them.
Yeah,
But you might be.
Exactly,
It's
you
just
might
your
be.
physical.
Absolutely, your body is still not aligned or used to the idea of someone else. तो उसके लिए तो एक नया शॉक ही आएगा ना वो चीज़. But again, that is how we grow. That is how we evolve. The first time you might feel a shock in every new habit that you do, but eventually your body gets used to it.
We're so neuroplastic.
100%. I mean, if you give yourself the option and exposure to do that, you can change yourself, drastically change yourself.
Yeah. I also feel like the more you do it, the better you get at it. Like the more equipped you become and the more aware you are of your capacity to change and evolve. Like if you've never done it, if you've never gotten over a person, you have no evidence that you're capable of doing that. But once you go through 2 or 3, you're like, ठीक है, मुझे पता है कि time के साथ ठीक हो जाएगा. Like time heals a lot.
Absolutely.
You know, feel free to comment if you're aware of this phenomenon. But basically, from what I understand, it's a very deep-seated, almost life or death type of yearning for a person who never really gave you that emotional surety. So, what is the childhood trauma one has to go through to now experience this?
Right. So, see, this is a funny thing about it. Our brain craves for uncertainty. And uncertainty leads to dopamine kick as well.
Like a slot machine?
Exactly.
I don't know what I'm gonna get, when.
Yes. This is exciting for the brain, right? That I am going to get loved all the time. Certain, it's stable.
Boring.
Right. So it's boring for you eventually.
Dopamine तो नहीं मिल रहा है.
उसमें dopamine मिल रहा है.
Serotonin, oxytocin.
बाकी चीजें मिल रही है. You're stable and everything is good and fine. But kick नहीं. And addiction kick से आता है. Addiction stability से नहीं आता है. Like drugs, like alcohol, like cigarette smoking. Gambling. ये सारी चीजों में आपको dopamine के साथ तो खेल रहे हैं. Social media for that matter. Instagram for that matter. In fact, there is a book, उसमें एक बड़ा interesting chapter था कि sex with the most toxic people is the best.
Amazing.
Right? Because वहाँ भी वही है कि आप constantly crave
the
करते हैं.
reward is
Yes.
so high.
Yes. You don't feel wanted in the relationship. You don't feel liked in the relationship. You do not feel like yourself in the relationship. And suddenly, जब वो moment आता है आपके पास intimacy का, then all these emotions come into the picture. Okay, I'm being liked right now. I'm being wanted right now. I'm being craved for right now. So again, you get from 0 to 100 बहुत जल्दी. So anticipation of the sex is also very high. The feeling of the being present in that sex is very, very high. So naturally it becomes more exciting for you.
Right.
And again, you crave for it even more. And then you're addicted to the person again even more. So again, it's a cycle.
Yeah.
And we have to get rid of the cycle to protect our energy, obviously.
Yeah. I often worry about the younger generation's ability to form healthy attachments and relationships because all of our dopamine systems are so overstimulated. तो मतलब लोग तो सिर्फ toxic relationship के पीछे ही भागेंगे, right?
जब relationships की हम बात करते हैं, intimate relationships की बात करते हैं, वहाँ पे more than social media, more than the toxic dopamine cycle, it is also about the relationship you saw in your own families.
Parents, with your primary caregivers.
Right. So उनका relationship कैसा था, उनका behavior आपके साथ कैसा था. अगर उनका behavior hot and cold था आपके साथ, कभी वो है, कभी वो नहीं है, कभी बहुत rewarding है, कभी बहुत punishing है, then your chance of getting attracted to a toxic person is very, very high because that's what is familiar for you.
Yes.
And if you had a stable, very secure childhood with your parents, then you would naturally not get attached to the idea of being a toxic person because then आपको दिख रहा है कि चलो मजा आएगा, but not my type. So you're not going to get attached to the idea of the entire person as well.
Yeah. Our immediate primary caregivers behaved with us in the initial 0 to 3, in the phase when we're the most vulnerable.
Right. Ideally तो 15-16 साल तक हम ग्रो करते रहते हैं. So that is actually the time जब तक हम घर में भी रहते हैं. तो ग्रोथ होता रहता है 16-17 साल तक. But yes, 2-3 साल तक मेजर 70-80% इमोशनल ग्रोथ हो चुका होता है. 5 साल तक हम खुद से इमोशनल हैंडल करने के लिए केपेबल हो जाते हैं. पहले 5 साल तक हम डिपेंडेंट होते पेरेंट्स के रिएक्शन पर, कैसे मुझे फील करना है. बच्चा जब अभी गिरता है तो पेरेंट्स को पहले देखेगा कि मुझे भी हंसना है,
क्या रिएक्शन क्या है.
राइट. तो पहले 5 साल तक ये होता है. आफ्टर दैट द चाइल्ड बिकम्स इमोशनली इंडिपेंडेंट कि मुझे कैसे हैंडल करना है चीज़ों को.
So interesting. But moving on, I'm curious about the phenomenon of infidelity and cheating in relationship. I've seen a lot of scenarios just where people are in generally healthy or content relationships. Why might someone sort of choose to step out and commit an act of infidelity? What are the emotions that might drive someone to do that?
Right. अब यहाँ पे एक बड़ा interesting fact आता है जो कि what I've seen a very consistent pattern around people. Let's say they're in a very healthy relationship, but still the person is cheating or getting attached to someone else. Many times it is driven by their need for attention. मतलब उनके अंदर attention का void रहा है बचपन से. ऐसा particularly मिला नहीं है attention का void. Right? Now जब इस इंसान को बाहर दुनिया से थोड़ा बहुत attention मिलना चालू होता है, people, colleagues or whatever, friends or whatever, जब attention मिलना चालू होता है तो obviously everyone likes attention for that matter, be it married or not married, you like attention. But now when you're getting attention, you are fascinated by the idea of who is giving it that to you. So you are a bit more attached to the idea of person. Now when this person proposes something for you, you don't want that attention to go away. So you become comfortable with adjusting your value system, adjusting what you can do and what you cannot do. You're not able to say no, because if you say no, then that attention will go away from you. तो आप थोड़ा थोड़ा खुद को पुश करना चालू करते हो, and then one day it happens, and then you're addicted to the idea of this particular thing. दूसरा जगह जहाँ बहुत ज़्यादा infidelity बढ़ती है is a lack of actual emotional attachment. But what really makes make people actually be together for each other is actually attachment. तभी ना हम connected रहेंगे एक दूसरे के, तभी हम सोचेंगे एक दूसरे के बारे में. अगर attachment नहीं है, then actually your brain's idea of swaying away from it can be very very high obviously. तो वैसी चीज़ें भी होते हैं, and that's a very interesting part of it कि for women cheating often starts from the emotional level. It never starts from the physical level. कि उनको अगर attachment नहीं है, वो emotional needs fulfill नहीं हो रहे, and then someone comes who initiates to just talk with you, nothing else. वो बस आपसे बात कर रहे हैं, but you feel connected to that person is listening to me, the person is actually understanding what I'm trying to say. Even that person might be faking, but आपको तो वो need fulfill हो रही है ना उस particular point पे. So slowly and steadily वो emotions and physical का line eventually blur हो जाता है, and then it happens. And but for men वो अलग angle हो सकता है, completely physical game हो सकता है वो चीज़. कि I don't care about them because anyway उनको emotions तो अपनी wife को देना नहीं था, तो वो चीज़ में फंसे हुए.
I want to go back to what you mentioned about someone who didn't get the attention in youth and is now desperately seeking it, and maybe one stable relationship is not enough to like satisfy that need for like validation. Those very people also seem to gravitate towards professions that meet that need of validation, whether it's a performer, an actor, a sports person, a musician, artist, something that garners a lot of external validation. Is it a red flag if a guy is an actor or a sports person or like someone who's very much in the limelight?
See, it will increase the chances for sure, but we cannot guarantee it obviously just because on one parameter, because there's so many other complex things that also defines कि आप क्या करने वाले हो क्या नहीं करने वाले. This is one of the very simple factors we talked about, but it increases the odds. अगर बाकी में 5% possibility हो तो यहाँ 15% हो सकती है. But yes, it increases the odds, but there's no guarantee of anything obviously.
How does one deal with an emotionally volatile partner? And how do I distinguish between someone who's just having big emotions and someone who's actually harmful?
I mean that obviously is very volatile. जो इंसान emotions और physical के line को blur नहीं कर पा रहा है, उसका impact आ जा रहा है physical level पे, abuse में for that matter. It of course is very scary and very dangerous because it whatever anything can happen at that particular point of time.
Sure.
तो वो तो problem है. And second thing, काफ़ी बार abuse is not just physical, that can be emotional as well. कि जो इंसान उसको regulate नहीं कर पा रहा है उस order पे कि they're constantly shouting at you, constantly fighting with you, constantly getting impacted by the very smallest of things. It can be a big problem. But let's say you're stuck with it. Let's just say that you're stuck with a person who is very volatile. तो उस केस में the best way to protect yourself would be by drawing some boundaries around things which you know are getting onto the totally wrong nerves. The problem also is a lack of attachment within, because when you make boundaries, जब boundaries बनानी पड़ जाती है, then obviously you will get detached to the person as well. तो naturally उसका loss है उस चीज़ में. But again, life and अपनी personal sanity is also primary.
That's true. Can emotional intelligence be used for evil? By that I mean, you become so aware and so adept at navigating and almost manipulating emotions that you can use it to achieve your own agenda. ऐसे कभी हुआ है?
हो सकता है, absolutely हो सकता है, but emotional intelligence का एक बहुत important part होता है empathy भी. That you are able to at least empathize with the person and not do something so extreme or so strong. But करने को सी, अगर you are aware, emotionally very aware, and you know how to navigate through some things like that, so you can definitely use it in your favor and manipulate people around it.
Yeah, like I think about narcissists, or I think about like people who are sociopaths. Like they can understand emotions intellectually, but maybe not feel emotions.
Right.
And they can sort of use it to their advantage and take advantage of people's vulnerability.
Right, but I think they're not emotionally intelligent. They would be very emotionally and socially aware, and they are able to see those practicality and emotional part very independently.
Okay.
तो वो उसको लाइन को बहुत इतना डिफरेंट रखते हैं ना कि उनको समझ में बहुत अच्छे से आ जाता है कि कौन क्या कर रहा है और कहाँ पर मुझे अपनी चीज़ों को बताना है. So that goes in their favor, but again they use it to manipulate, and then that because उनके पास वो empathy का corner sociopaths में या narcissists में बहुत minimal होता है.
What's the difference between feeling an emotion and intellectualizing an emotion?
Feeling an emotion would involve us to sit with that emotion, let it show up in different parts of the body, different part of the mind, and then being able to take action around it at our own due time, at its own due time. Rationalizing an emotion का मतलब ये होगा कि हम तुरंत जंप कर रहे हैं गन को टू मेक आवरसेल्व्स फील बेटर और एस्केप और बाईपास दैट इमोशन। इमोशंस की जब हम बात करते हैं, सो द 3 स्टेजेस ऑफ इट आइडियली ये होना चाहिए। पहला होता है इमोशनल अवेयरनेस, यू फील इट। सेकंड इज एक्सप्रेशन, कि हम एक्सप्रेस कर सके, बात कर सके, लिख सके, समझ सके अपने टर्म्स।
We can name it,
Right.
language.
थर्ड थिंग इज एक्शन। फनी थिंग इज ना, हम मोस्ट ऑफ द पीपल पहले और दूसरे फेज में ही खत्म कर देते हैं इमोशन को। लेट्स से कि मुझे बहुत बुरा लगा किसी चीज़ के बारे में, किसी से हर्ट किया, किसी ने रिजेक्ट करा मुझे, सो मैं पहले फील करूंगा सैड, फिर मैं अपने बेस्ट फ्रेंड को कॉल करूंगा, यार ऐसा हुआ, वैसा हुआ। मैंने एक्सप्रेस कर दिया अपने सारे इमोशंस को। द मोमेंट आई एक्सप्रेस एन इमोशन आई फील लाइटर, राइट? द पर्सन ऑल्सो सेज कि हाँ यार तेरी एक्स टॉक्सिक थी, यू आर द नाइस पर्सन, दे आर अनलकी और दे हैव लॉस्ट अ बिग थिंग, whatever. Now उस मोमेंट पे आई फील बेटर। द मोमेंट आई फील बेटर, मुझे क्या लग रहा है इंटरनली, प्रॉब्लम इज सॉल्व्ड। सो आई नेवर गो टू द एक्शन मोड। एक्शन मोड क्या होना चाहिए था? एड्रेसिंग, कि कहाँ उसकी गलती थी, कहाँ मेरी गलती थी, कहाँ पे सच में हमने मिस आउट करा, कहाँ पर उसने मिस आउट करा, क्या चीज़ें हुई प्रॉब्लमेटिक रिलेशनशिप में, तो वो पार्ट को हमेशा स्किप आउट कर देते हैं। और ये चक्कर में क्या होता है ना, देन वी कीप ऑन रिपीटिंग द सेकंड पार्ट इन लूप, कि फिर हम जब लो फील करेंगे तब तक बेस्ट फ्रेंड को कॉल करेंगे, तब तक वो हमें बोलेगा कुछ, फिर हमें 2 मिनट के लिए बेटर फील करेंगे, फिर अगेन फिर अगले दिन फिर कॉल करेंगे। एक पॉइंट पर वो परेशान हो जाएगा, क्या कितने कॉल कर रहे हो गया, छोड़ दो, आगे बढ़ो।
And it also takes some painful confrontation of your worst self. Like relationships bring out, hold the mirror up to your deepest flaws and insecurities and the roughest parts. And I feel that's such a beautiful part about relationships, is that it holds up the mirror, forces you to confront 100 things that you need to work on about yourself, and gives you the option. Do you want to work on it? Like, do you want to go through that painful discomfort?
Yeah.
Or do you want to walk away and be a coward?
Absolutely.
So, how do you anticipate AI impacting people's emotional intelligence in relationships? Like, as more and more people integrate AI into their decision making, or maybe they replace their decision making with AI only, right? How do you see technology disrupting our...
So let's say you have to write a caption on social media for a reel or for a post. हम क्या करेंगे? Write a caption for this particular post, वो caption निकाल के दे देगा आपको। Now, आपने एक सोचने का प्रोसेस को bypass कर दिया और डेलीगेट कर दिया AI की तरफ,
मशीन को।
जो आप सोचते, पहले सोच रहे थे आप, पहले सोच के लिख रहे थे। The process of thinking allows you to think things differently. Then it allows you to see things in different way altogether.
Totally.
और ये एक्सपीरियंस ही आपको इवॉल्व करने में हेल्प करता है ना, कि आज मैंने कुछ नया सोचा तो मुझे समझ में आया कुछ और, अच्छा ये भी ऐसा होता है, और दैट्स हाउ वी इवॉल्व एंड ग्रो इन लाइफ। बट अब सडनली वो सारे पार्ट्स को हम बाईपास करना चालू कर देते हैं, तो हमें सोचने का मौका ही कहाँ मिल रहा है? हम तो काम कर रहे हैं ना, सो वी आर बिकमिंग ग्रेट एट सोशल मीडिया, वी आर गेटिंग गुड नंबर्स, हम बहुत अच्छी चीज़ों को मैनेज कर रहे हैं, बट अपना थिंकिंग प्रोसेस हम कहीं और डेलीगेट करते जा रहे हैं। द आर्टिस्टिक वर्क और बीइंग ऑथेंटिक वर्क इज गेटिंग लॉस्ट। एंड जब वो ऑथेंटिसिटी जानी चालू होती है, देन नेचुरली इमोशंस को तो पर्पस ही है उससे नेविगेट होना, तो इमोशंस बढ़ते जाएंगे, इट विल कम आउट इन वेरी हॉरिबल फॉर्म्स, वेरी स्ट्रॉन्ग फॉर्म्स, बिकॉज आप खुद पे ट्रस्ट ही नहीं कर पाओगे ना कभी। मोस्ट ऑफ टाइम्स इफ यू वुड हैव नोटिस बाय नाउ, एआई आपकी वॉइस को ही इको करता है, आप जो बोलोगे उसका हाँ करेगा ही बैठ के एआई। तो एआई कैन बी वेरी हॉरिबल थेरेपिस्ट। वो आपकी बात को सिर्फ अग्री करता है, आपकी बात पे सिर्फ इको कराता है, इको चैम्बर बना देता है आपके लिए कि वॉट एवर यू डूइंग इज ग्रेट, बट आपको कभी कन्फ्रंटेशंस एंड चैलेंजेस नहीं मिल रहे आपके थॉट को लेकर, एंड दैट इज इंपॉर्टेंट पार्ट ऑफ एक्चुअली ग्रोइंग। अगर आपका इको चैम्बर बनता रहेगा तो आप ग्रो नहीं कर पाओगे जिंदगी में, एंड दैट इज नॉट अ गुड थेरेपिस्ट ऑब्वियसली। तो उस पॉइंट पे आपको समझना है कि आपको चैलेंजेस चाहिए लाइफ में, और काफ़ी बार आप खुद ही चैलेंज कर देते हो। आई थिंक एक सर्वे आया, एक रिसर्च आया था कुछ दिन पहले, दैट टॉक्स अबाउट कि India is number 2 the loneliest country of the world.
God, and look at our population.
Exactly.
That's crazy.
Exactly. तो अब रिलेशनशिप में भी अगर AI घुस जाएगा तो रिलेशनशिप का पर्पस ही क्या बचता है? तो वहाँ पे हम इंडिपेंडेंट लाइफ जी रहे जस्ट फॉर द सेक ऑफ इट, बिकॉज आप रिलेशनशिप एग्जैक्टली, तो रिलेशनशिप तो इंस्टाग्राम के लिए ना, फिर कि आप कितने कपल रील्स डाल दो, कितने कपल गोल्स डाल दो, बट रियलिटी में आप कितने अटैच्ड हो एक दूसरे के साथ, आपको तो वो काम AI कर रहा है,
घंटा
आपकी वल्नरेबिलिटी AI कर रहा है, आपकी इमोशंस को वैलिडेट AI कर रहा है। तो व्हाट आर यू डूइंग विद द पार्टनर? Hardly anything.
No.
So detached, we're living detached lives. So naturally, we're being more lonely now.
Right. Those were all my questions that I had for you today, Shivam. Thank you so very much for joining us. Do you have any final thoughts on our discussion today, or any advice you'd like to share for our audience who are single, navigating dating, navigating their own emotions, and those of their prospective partners?
Right. Thank you so much for having me first. And the last final lines would be that whenever you feel something very strong, always understand that it is your body's and your brain's way of telling you that something is going wrong from your standards. Do not let anyone else dictate कि वो सही है या नहीं है, because काफ़ी बार हम अपनी फीलिंग्स को दूसरों के लेंस से असेस करना चाहते हैं, वैलिडेट करना चाहते हैं कि अच्छा if I react strongly to something or feel strongly about something and then my partner says कि तो बहुत छोटी सी चीज़ है, इतनी इस पे इतना छोटा सा चीज़ पे क्यों इतना रिएक्ट कर रहे हो, क्यों इतनी स्ट्रांगली फील कर रहे हो. सो दिस दुनिया में आपको कोई डिक्टेट नहीं कर सकता कि आपको कैसा फील करना चाहिए किसी चीज़ के लिए. यस, मे बी शायद उनके लिए ओवर हो, बट आपके लिए तो नहीं, आप फील कर रहे हो, इसका मतलब. तो ऑलवेज अंडरस्टैंड दिस थिंग दैट इफ यू आर फीलिंग स्ट्रांगली अबाउट समथिंग, इट मीन्स समथिंग टू यू. सो डोंट इनवैलिडेट इट जस्ट बिकॉज दुनिया कर रही इनवैलिडेट. आप उसको एड्रेस करो, गेट टू द कोर रूट कॉज एंड ट्राई टू वर्क ऑन वेयर इट इज रियली कमिंग फ्रॉम एंड वर्किंग अराउंड इट.
Profound, wise words to end on for today's Ask the Expert. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for watching another episode of Ask the Expert. If you enjoyed this video, do be sure to hit subscribe, share it with your friends, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.